it's Enneagram Talk with Brandon. Today we're going to do a little quick video. It's like a mini series video. I'm going to do a mini video on type 1, Perfectionist. So ones, when they're healthy, they integrate to the type 7. They are committed to a life of integrity and service. They're balanced, be able to balance, to forgive themselves, because ones have a higher critic voice. They're able to balance themselves and forgive themselves for being imperfect, because they have a very high standard for themselves. They are principled and patient with the processes that slowly make sure that the world is a better place, because they are also idealists. When they're average, they can be very judgmental, comparative minds that they have naturally judging and comparing minds that naturally spot errors and imperfections. They struggle to accept that imperfection is inevitable, and they fear the tyranny of critical voices in their head, their inner critic voice. When they're unhealthy, disintegrated, they go down to type 4, individualist. They fixate on very small imperfections. They're very critical, very judgmental, very moody. They are obsessed with micromanaging what they can. They try to dominate over everything. They assert themselves over something or someone. They believe that by asserting themselves over something or someone, asserting control in particular, they can have their relief from their own criticalness, because they think they did something right. I'm trying to state that inner critic voice. Type 1s are in the Body Triad. They're in the Doing Triad. Their deadly sin is anger. It looks a lot more like resentment a lot of the time. And a lot of that's also stimulated because they have a very strong inner critic voice. They have very high expectations of each other, of themselves and other people around them. When they're average, controlling their behavior and emotions is their number one priority for them. When they have impulses that are in their minds uncivilized, like they're outside at a park, for example, and they see a puddle and they want to play in the puddle or skip in the puddle. They'd be like, no, that's childish, I'm not doing it, I'm going to control that, I'm going to push that down and not indulge. Or they want to go and they had a really good day and they want a nice Sunday, like a Sunday afterwards. No, I can't do that, that's too much calories, I'm not going to take that, I'm not going to indulge. I'm going to just put that down, bottle it up, package it, ship it away. I'm not going to indulge in that. That's how they may manifest their life. In psychology, they call this defensiveness a reaction formation, controlling their own narrative inside themselves. Ones also believe that their way is the only right way to do something. They can be very domineering in that aspect. Ones are in the compliant triad. They comply to their standards, to their roles, and they expect others to indulge in that too, to engage in that role-istic aspect of their lives. The one's talk style is preaching, so they'll not like preaching isn't like expository, like from a pulpit, but they have to almost like teach in their minds, and when they teach, they almost teach at you. They yell at you. They're like, oh, you're going to hell for this or whatever. Like, and that's not how they normally manifest it. But they may think, for example, I'm healthy. I believe I have to do. I'm a type 4 for sake of argument. I integrate to 1 when I'm healthy. When I'm healthy, I believe I should be the good employee, and everyone else should be the good employee too. I do this thing because it's the right thing to do. It's what I should be doing. It's what I need to do. And everyone else should follow that too. I operate that way through showing an example. I don't talk about it, though. Ones have that tendency to talk about it and feel like they have to because it's what they should do as the good employee. Ones are also able to approach and express anger about injustices because they're idealists, and they can, when they integrate with their wings, well, they have a wing to 2. 2 is the helper, they're more relationally focused. they shift their compliance from rules and standards towards people a little bit with that, and they're able to twos are able to help them see how to be compassionate and showing for people when something happens in life, like world hunger or sex trafficking or things like that. Can I say that on YouTube? When there's issues of like that type of thing, ones, if they're passionate about the cause, can rally and fight for that, and they believe everyone else should do that, and they can have anger and vocally express that because that's appropriate for them. I should be angry about this. I should be this way. And you should be that way too. Ones are petrified of making mistakes. Remember, they have a high inner critic voice. So they often fear, like, if there's an issue, like, I fumbled a ball, like playing catch with my son. That's a mistake. And they get all uptight about that. Or they miss a deadline by accident because they didn't know there was a deadline. They go, and they harp on themselves about that. That's how type 1s are. They harp on themselves about every little thing they could have done. But ones also get the job done. They are the Competency Triad and the Hornevian, I believe. Hornevian Triads. Competency means, for the sake of argument, they're able to be productive, to assert, to get things done. 1s, 3s, and 5s are in the Competency Triad. They believe in asserting and making things done, following the rules, following proper protocol to get things done efficiently and productively and perfectionistically. And the type 1's example. Ones want to be good people. They always want to do the right thing. They may not always know how to do that without being almost like in your face, or not being able to, they're not always able to be compassionate about how they do stuff. They can always just be dogmatic at their worst case. They can be dogmatic. I gotta do things this way, and that's my way to do it. Type 8s can also be that way too. 8s are the challengers. Ones believe that every task should be done in a systematic and correct fashion. Follow the rules. I gotta follow the SOP, the standard operating procedure. It's this step, this step, this step, this step. I can't just jump from here to here, even if I logically could, because I know how to do everything. I gotta follow this step by the book. Because if I don't do it by the book, it's gonna be bad. Type 1s have the internal message when they were children that they have to be good and to do the right thing to be loved. Mistakes are unacceptable. People and things are either perfect or they're not perfect and wrong. There's no middle ground for them. It's very black and white. And they may, they needed to be told, like, ones need to be told that, making mistakes is normal. Like, it's part of life. I missed a deadline at work one day. I didn't know it was a deadline. That's not my mistake. But that happens. It's no one's fault. But, that's no one's fault. They can develop into the healthier one. And we're actually, they're given the healing message that mistakes are just part of the process of learning and growing up, which part of being an adult. We all make mistakes. We're all going to have issues. The important thing is not let that mistake control you. Ones have that tendency to live in that and be controlled by their inner critic voice, by their wounding message. They're able to be controlled by that if they let that control their mind. I think that's pretty much everything for ones. That is pretty much the basics of the whole thing. The other extra thing is type 1s have wings. Type 2 and type 9. I talked about the 2 a little bit earlier. 9s are the Peacemakers. With the 9's influence, they can withdraw a little bit more and be a little more perspective to see things better instead of just like going into it. 9s are also in the same triad as type 1s with the Body Triad. Just 9s are a little more laid back with their anger versus 1s internalize that and they let that fuel them in unhealthy and destructive ways at times too. Besides the constructive aspect when they lean towards type 2. They have lines to 7 in strength, the enthusiast, and lines down to 4, the individualist, when they're not doing well. and I talked about a little bit of that stuff. I pretty much did the little breakaway topic. This is the whole, like, this isn't going to be really edited, really. It's going to be just basics. I'm going to have words pop up here and there. So this is going to be how a little bit how this series happens while I'm still editing the main form videos. It's going to be little mini episodes breaking out, exploring different topics so you guys can see results from the testing series that I did, that I'm doing now. So these are going to be a little fillers. So feel free to check that out later on. This is Enneagram Talk Brandon. You guys take care. Enjoy life. Be present to it. Present life. Be true to yourselves. Take care, guys. Goodbye.